Bro, you just dissed me for the final time. Bro, you just showed me disrespect. The only course of action left is to take this to the ring. This coming Monday night, we're gonna duke it out for keeper. And I will climb to the top rope and jump and kick you in the face. And I've been training all my wrestling skills, so I will surely win. It doesn't matter if it's submission, elimination, or just pin. When I beat you, everyone will know how weak you are. You'll lose your job. I'll take your fans and take your girl, and then I'm gonna take your belt.
Welcome to Marking Out in the Morning, coming to you live from Audacity Solutions Studios in Des Moines, Iowa. I am your host, The Audacity. It is 9:01 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you can't do the math for where you live, that's 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Sweden time, and about 12:30 a.m. in some parts of Australia. This is the first and only live daily morning call-in pro wrestling news and rumors podcast. So welcome to a history-making event. If you want to interact with us while the show is going live, we're here every morning, Monday through Friday. If you're listening live, then you know you can join us on Periscope at HEELZiggler.com. You can follow us on Twitter, the same handle. If you know Periscope, you already knew that anyway. During the show, if you hop in the Periscope room, or if you shoot me a tweet, I will have Twitter up and going, so I will know. Or if you want to be old school about it, there's a phone number you can call, 657-383-1786. I get it, millennials don't like to make phone calls. I think I'm technically a millennial, so whatever. I wish you could text the show, but I'm not going to give you my direct number because that would be insane. So yeah, let's get down to it real quick. Today, we're going to be joined by, I believe, Kazz from the Post-Match Podcast. If not, then it's V-Dogg. Either way, they're waiting in the waiting room, the virtual waiting room. Brandon, Suplex for Hire, my friend, Flawless Wallace, quite the noob in the indie wrestling scene. He should be joining us. If you listen to the show, then you are familiar with him. And yeah, we're going to talk about Raw. Then we talk about Breaking Ground. Go over some news and rumors, some gossip, if you will. And then, yeah, then we'll see what these clowns calling into my show have to say for themselves. I mean, we'll bring them on way before that, obviously, but whatever. All right, so real quick, for those listening live on the podcast and or watching the YouTube video much later, you get this exclusive sound clip.
Spoiler alert, 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 spoiler alert,
All right, so we're going to go over the results of Raw last night real quick. Instead of going through them in order, there were 4 matches that they set up at the beginning of the show featuring people who won their matches at Hell in a Cell the night before. The 4 winners of those 4 matches would face off in the main event of Raw in a fatal 4-way to determine the number 1 contender for Seth Rollins' WWE World Heavyweight Championship belt. I don't know if you followed that. Here's the 4 matches. Roman Reigns defeated Kofi Kingston. Dolph Ziggler defeated Big E. Alberto Del Rio defeated Neville. And Kevin Owens defeated Cesaro. Those 4 winners went on to the main event, which we'll get to in a second. Throughout the show, The Miz and Austin were there to promote, that's right, Steve Austin, were there to promote the release of WWE 2K16, which happens today. And I'm an idiot and I didn't pre-order. I don't have time for video games. I really want to play it, but I just haven't even had time to pre-order it, so we'll see how that goes. Back to Monday Night Raw. Paige officially turned again on Charlotte and Becky after she claimed she wanted to get back with them. They had a 6-diva match against Team Bella. Team Bella wins. Paige gets pissed, beats them both up. Strangely enough, the San Diego crowd seemed to be half on board with it and half against it. Same with Seth Rollins, same with the New Day. So kind of a tweener crowd, if you will. What else happened? Zeb Coulter and ADR explained that they think Mexico and America should be combined into what they are calling Mex America, which I think we're also calling them. One of those awesome things. So Mex America, after the promo, excuse me, we also had a match featuring all the losers from Hell in a Cell. So Rusev, Sheamus, and King Barrett defeated the Dudleys and Ryback in a 6-man tag. It's starting to look like Rusev, Sheamus, and Barrett might form some kind of faction, at least until Survivor Series, I would guess. After a long, typical Bray Wyatt promo, Kane came out, lights go out, the rest of the Wyatts show up, they beat the crap out of Kane, they carry him away, just like they did to his brother the night before. Dean Ambrose does not have a match, but is backstage with Roman Reigns, talking about how close Roman Reigns has been to being champion so many times, and now they're focused on Roman Reigns winning the title. And I hope there's a swerve where Dean Ambrose turns on Roman Reigns. That would be awesome. And by the way, Roman Reigns wins the Fatal 4-Way, if you didn't know that was going to happen. And he is now the new #1 contender for the World Heavyweight Championship title, currently held by Seth Rollins. You've got to assume it'll be done at Survivor Series. So that's what we have to look forward to. That is your brief Monday Night Raw recap. Let's see who we got on the phone with us today. Is this Kazz, or am I talking to V-Dogg?
Well, first of all, I'm no clown. But this is Kazz.
All right, how you doing this morning, Kazz?
I am wide awake, ready to go over whichever direction you take me in.
All right, that's the kind of caller I like. Well, let's just get right into it then with Monday Night Raw. I thought it was actually a pretty interesting show overall. I like where they have at least one story that starts and ends in one show. So this whole how are we going to figure out who the #1 contender thing is gave us a lot of good matches and good build up for kind of a one show angle. Anything else you were especially happy or especially upset with about Raw last night?
I thought Raw was coming off the pay-per-view. I thought it definitely set up, a good. It was a good beginning show to go into, eventually go into Survivor Series. I think they started some new angles that I thought were good, and no, I'm not mad at the show at all. I thought it was good.
Very good, very good. And it looks like V-Dogg is joining us. How did you feel about Monday Night Raw last night?
Yeah, I have to agree with Kazz. It wasn't bad at all. In fact, the last 2 days haven't been bad at all. The Hell in the Cell pay-per-view I thought was pretty good, surprisingly. And a few moments I got excited for. I didn't think it would be like super bad, but I didn't think I would enjoy it as much as I did. Let's just say that. Let's just say it exceeded my expectations, and it was good. And then last night too, like Cass said, new angles get started. Well, not really sure. A little bit on the new angles. Like there were some few things that were predictable, but there were a few things that were like, finally, like okay, cool. Page finally turns. I mean, it was super predictable, but at least it happened. Because I did enjoy it, so that was good, and cool to see Tyler Breeze out there on a. I was cool to see him out there at least with that VIP section. I thought that was pretty funny. I thought, okay, well, that's other than just sitting out there, which they wouldn't create. I would normally expect from creative at this point. They enhanced it a lot more. So. That was cool, and I think that's all I can think of at the moment off the top of my head, but those were some standout moments for me, so
Yeah, I think I had pretty similar feelings about Hell in a Cell. I didn't expect much out of it, but I was pleasantly surprised with how brutal Roman Reigns and Bray Wyatt actually were to each other. Some of the spots they came up with,
Cool.
I thought were really good.
Yes.
Charlotte and Nikki, God, that was like, I mean, that's some of the spots in there at least were off the charts. There was a whole bunch, and then Undertaker and Lesnar got
Nikki.
super bloody too. So, Hell in a Cell was good, and last night again we got a lot of time for Kevin Owens. He's getting a lot more attention, which I'm a huge fan of. So there's, I guess, two other things really the internet's going to be kind of talking about, and I'm still kind of curious about. They brought back ADR, and not only that was unexpected, which I like. Just the fact I like whenever they I don't see something coming. So props to WWE for that. But they didn't explain how he so easily defeated the same man who kicked out of 3 rock bottoms. And they didn't even act like it was a huge upset. They didn't even mention that John Cena wasn't at Raw. It was so weird. And I don't know what, I mean, do you think they're ever going to give us any kind of explanation for the that's the kind of finish you'd expect if he was up against Mark Henry. So do you think they're ever going to give us any kind of explanation for what was going on with Cena?
Go ahead, Kaz.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Kaz.
Well, I kind of feel like that one senator from wherever he was during the Democratic debates. I'm like, hey, I'm here too, but no, I think I thought Alberto Del Rio returning was awesome. I think you kind of started getting the sense that could be a possibility as early as Friday, when the news reports were coming out that he was in talks to come back. As far as explaining where Cena was, they dropped the ball on that. I don't know why that happened. Him kicking the finish of it seemed to come really quick. It was a short match, and him not kicking out after Super Cena was nowhere to be seen. It was almost It was almost kind of like when he never got out, not to the extent of the brutalness of it, but to the same way he never got out the box with Brock Lesnar when Lesnar introduced him to however many suplexes it was and just destroyed him. It was kind of along those lines where Del Rio just shows up and hits a backstabber and a kick to the face and it's over. So, but nonetheless, I'm thinking with Del Rio back, it opens up the door for a lot of fresh ideas, fresh matchups. So I think it was great to have him back.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be interesting to see where they go with the Mex America thing. I was really surprised by Zeb Coulter, actually, just because I had heard rumors that the reason we haven't been seeing him on TV was because he was going to be fired as soon as his contract was up. So that was interesting.
As a side note, too, that whole Mex America thing, that's a copy of an angle from TNA.
Ooh, I'm sure we will hear plenty about that on the very soon. The other cry that we're going to hear plenty about is the fact that Roman Reigns is officially back in the title picture. V-Dogg, you knew it was going to happen eventually. So how do you feel about him being basically, I assume he'll be headlining the next pay-per-view. It'll be Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins for the title at Survivor Series. Where do you think, I guess, how do you feel about the fact that that's what we're getting for Survivor Series?
Well, last night I'm watching that match, and he's definitely gotten better. Let's all be honest there. I mean, him and Bray Wyatt, we talked about it before. Him and Bray Wyatt had a great match. I was expecting that match to be good, but again, it exceeded my expectations, and definitely that crowd and that LA crowd last night too. They were into the show, which made it better for the viewer at home to be into, because a lot of times dead crowds, I mean, I guess it goes both ways, and Kaz and I have talked about this and debated back and forth. When you overdo it, it can be a little too much, but when it's, if the crowd's super dead, it's like, if they're not into it, why should I be? I mean, I've always kind of looked at it that way. But, Roman Reigns has improved, so I get it. I didn't want him to win last night. That being said, the way the match was going, I just felt like something different needed to happen because, again, that was another thing that was kind of predictable. You saw where it was going to go. But nonetheless, good match. At least Seth Rollins is going to have a younger opponent this time. He's back back on that path. So I was, it was like, oh, okay, and I'm like it or not, he's getting that title. Then I was like, oh, wait, unless Ambrose turns, because that would be probably the thing that is going to happen. That's what they've been hinting at forever, which that's another issue I have with creative. They seem to tease things way too much, for way too long, I should say. But at the same time, the better swerve, only one who has said this, certainly not the first, but I've thought this for a while, and I think I said it on our show too. It would be if Roman Reigns turned on Dean Ambrose somehow. That, for me, would be the better thing to do, just because no one will really see it coming. And I honestly think for right now, Roman Reigns would make a better heel. I just see him as a better heel, at least at this time. So I mean, maybe not going up against Rollins. Well, actually, going up against Rollins, they would. I don't know how they would do it now, but I just think that the roles were switched between the two. It'd be a better angle, and the match I know is going to be fine. I know the match is going to be good, but I just feel like the roles should be switched. I felt that Rollins makes a better face because he's a better wrestler, and that's how he can get over. And Roman Reigns just seems to kind of have that, like he can play off the arrogant heel somehow. And not even somehow. I know the way he walks through the crowd, this time he can walk through with security and tell fans to get off him, and just walk slow like, no, hey, I'm going to, just kind of do that. And not so much play the chicken shit heel, but just kind of be that arrogant, something different that they normally don't do. Not everybody, just because you're a heel, has to be a chicken shit heel, because they do that a lot. So, that's just me. But otherwise, I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm totally fine with Roman Reigns getting that title shot right now.
Yeah. Kazz, what do you think as far as Dean Ambrose? We have Cena out for a while. Brock Lesnar's probably not going to be on TV for a minute. So do you think Dean Ambrose gets pushed to be somehow involved with Rollins and Roman Reigns so that he's in the title picture again, or do you think we have to wait on that for a while?
Well, first of all, I fully agree with V-Dogg. I think Roman Reigns at this point, if he did turn heel, it would be the best thing for him, and that creative could do a lot more with him as far as the writing and help him develop his promo skills in the heel capacity better than they do in the baby face. I think coming through the crowd, he can be that, like as V-Dogg said, be that badass and just be like, yelling at the fans, get off me, don't touch me, et cetera, et cetera. I definitely see them planting the seeds of a rift between Ambrose and Reigns. I'm not sure who's going to play which role, but I see definitely the seeds planted there. And I believe that there's a long-range plan, and I hope it comes to fruition, that you get a three-way from the Shield at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah, I think that would be
great.
Yeah, if they're especially if they're trying to get everybody I feel like with this WrestleMania they're trying to get people who are Attitude Era fans, probably doing something to get old school fans and then kind of the new school fans. So if you get Triple H versus The Rock for the Attitude people, and then you get all three members of the Shield in a triple threat match, especially if one of them is still the champion, I think that would be about as much as the IWC could really ask for. at WrestleMania.
Right.
So, yeah. But, all right, well, enough about Raw. Have you guys been able to check out Breaking Ground yet?
I didn't. Not yet.
I did.
All right. What'd you think about it, Kazz?
Well, I hope that the way it ended, I hope it's not a bait and switch, because they're leading you to believe that somebody's about to get fired, or released. But if they do the whole thing of like where they say, this is your last chance, you really need to get with it, I think that would be a little bit of a letdown. I thought in all, I liked the way it was shot. I thought there was some, it was well played. I thought Baron Corbin came off like a real asshole. Like he just doesn't have a good personality at all. And I'm glad there was no ZZ involved in this first episode, because that would make me run from it. But I like the look of the show. I like the premise, and I'm interested to see where it goes in the next episode.
Yeah, and I didn't even really think about them, like about the people on the show would be getting fired. You know what I mean? I guess I just never thought about. Obviously, that has to happen in real life, but I didn't really think about that being part of the issue. And Devin she's already been let go, right? So that's going to be in one of the upcoming episodes, I assume.
Right.
They were showing her training and everything. So, yeah, that'll be really interesting, I guess, to see everyone getting fired. I just didn't even I hadn't thought about that until I actually watched the show. And and it seems kind of obvious that they're going to make Baron Corbin kind of the centerpiece of the show, or at least the first episode he was the main guy. And we'll talk a little bit later too about him in what I assume was a scripted scuffle with Iowa's own Slipknot, Corey Taylor. So so proud of that guy. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Real quick, I'm going to we have someone on hold by the name of Naruto Fan for Life. How you doing this morning?
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing real good. What are you up to this morning? Where are you calling from?
I'm from the UK, but I'm not doing too much. I'm just talking about wrestling, which is one of the best things in the world at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. What did you get a chance to watch Breaking Ground yet?
I haven't watched much of it, but I've heard a couple of things about it, which was interesting, and I watched the build-up for it, with Triple H talking about it and stuff like that.
Very good. Did you get a chance to catch Raw last night?
Yeah, I watched quite a bit of Raw. I thought it was pretty decent for a pay-per-view back and then building up to the Survivor Series, which was great.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think at the very end, obviously the Wyatts are taking out Undertaker and Kane. I assume that's going to be like a Survivor Series match. Who do you think ends up teaming with Kane and Undertaker if that's the direction they're going?
I would have said Roman, but he's currently going to be facing Seth Rollins, but I truly don't know. They haven't really made that hint, unless it's going to be with the Dudleys maybe. But there's no one on the roster currently that make any sense at the moment. They haven't really made that direction yet. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I like that it's not obvious, so then it'll actually, give people stuff to talk about and things for me to fill time with on a podcast. So kind of works out well for everyone. And real quick, my friend, I'm just going to call him Flawless Wallace, is on the line. How you doing this morning, Brandon?
Man, how you guys doing?
Doing pretty good. I know you have weird working hours. Have you had a chance to get caught up on Raw yet?
Yeah, I just read spoilers. I haven't watched it, but yeah, that's kind of interesting, like what you guys were just talking about, because I was kind of thinking they might do like a Wyatts versus Kane and Taker and Reigns and Ambrose. But yeah, now with Reigns going for the title, that kind of... I mean, I think they could probably still use Ambrose because, like, they're not doing anything with him anyways. And then maybe like a demon Finn Balor, like that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, that could be a good way to bring him up to the main roster. Yeah, I didn't think about NXT. You think? Yeah, that's a good point. Kazz, I hadn't thought much about this at all. Do you think anyone from NXT gets brought up for the Survivor Series?
No, I think as far as the NXT, I think with Tyler Breeze, I think you see the last bring up for the year with him. I kind of think going back to Hell in a Cell when Undertaker was getting taken out at the end, I thought the roof would have blown off if Brock Lesnar would have returned and stood up with the Undertaker and saved him. I thought that would have been an awesome ending. Obviously, it didn't happen. I'm kind of thinking that they're going to build the premise of the whole thing of the Wyatts, removing Kane and Undertaker as them going into Survivor Series with the mission of, let's get rid of the old remnants of the Attitude Era, of the people that stayed too long, and maybe you can add to that mix. They throw in Big Show and Mark Henry, so then you get these big monsters who used to be feared, but now are kind of just like looked at as like glorified enhancement people, and they form a four-man team to go against all four Wyatts, and you have a traditional Survivor Series match. Yeah.
I really like the sound of that, and it gives a few guys that can go over pretty easily, so the Wyatts don't look like total jobbers if they don't win, but they at least can eliminate pretty decisively a few of the guys on the other team. So yeah, I like that booking. All right, and V-Dogg, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I feel like you probably know more about like the ROH and the indie world than I do. Is that right?
A little bit, but Kazz has been more up on the recent more ROH product, at least their TV show, than me. But what depends on what your question is here. All
right. Well, I was going to say I don't know a whole lot about AJ Styles. Again, anything that's kind of outside of WWE, I'm not real focused on. There's been a lot of talk about him. Rumors is really all it is, that he might come back to WWE. But if you read much into it, he basically has just been saying. He's basically been saying wherever I get the most money, essentially, is what it sounds like to me, is where he'll go. But now, all of a sudden, he has a back injury, and somehow, he'll be fine for ROH Final Battle. I don't know much about AJ Styles. I don't know much about this Final Battle. I assume it's like a pay-per-view. So get me caught up to date on what I should know.
Oh, okay. So... yeah, as far as the back injury, that's the first I've heard of it. It doesn't surprise me with all the work he's been doing in Japan lately and him reaching, I don't know, he's like 36, 37 years old. So, that's his body's starting to take a toll on him. And I've seen his matches in New Japan as of last year and even one this year, that Wrestle Kingdom 9 show. And, the guy's been working his ass off still. He's been doing great, but... yeah, wherever the money goes, that doesn't surprise me. Given now, I don't know how that guy was making like $200 to $300 grand a year working in TNA. That blows my mind because they, as a company, haven't been making that much money for years. So I don't get that. Even when more people were watching the product than they would be now. Yes, he's been working a lot of matches in Ring of Honor since he went to New Japan. And going to New Japan, I know he was able to make pretty much the same amount of money, if not more. He was the world champion, and he like I said, he's been tearing it up over there. He replaced Finn Balor, but the Prince Devitt, whatever you want to, over there, as the leader of the Bullet Club, which also has like the Young Bucks and Doc Gallows and Machine Gun Carl Anderson and a few other people that I cannot think of off the top of my head. But Kenny Omega being another one too, great talent down there, over there. Yeah, but just it was like at one point I think it got to too many people. I think Jeff Jarrett even freaking joined at one point, which that's ridiculous. But that makes sense that AJ Styles would say that. And then I've also heard Seth Rollins talk about that he would like to work with AJ Styles, which I'd like to think that he has, but I could be wrong there. I'd like to think that he has because they were in the Indies around the same time too. But he wasn't. Tyler Black or Seth Rollins was not in it. Not been it very long, I should say. So yeah, I know in Ring of Honor they never squared off, and I'm thinking somewhere else maybe. As far as AJ Styles going back to WWE, all he really did was wrestle like a developmental match. I forget what the name of it wasn't Velocity or Heat, but it was like one of those types of shows. And he wrestled the Hurricane Helms. So yeah, it was pretty interesting to see that. Back in 2002, I believe, right before TNA, like a few months before TNA even started. But yeah, AJ Styles, I think it'd be cool if he went to NXT. I think he should do it because he is in the later stages of his career. But if he's thinking about money, there's no way in hell they're going to pay him as much money as he's making in Japan. But I don't know. If I were him, I wouldn't say swallow his pride. Well, maybe, yeah, and just go down there because I mean NXT is just blowing up hard right now. I don't see why he shouldn't. But yeah, absolutely. And since that's been kind of they've shown that it works out well. That if you come in and you want to just have kind of your time with the company and get a few really solid matches in with people you couldn't work with, they seem pretty open to doing a lot of that stuff, and it's gone over pretty well so far. This next thing, I'm going to talk to Flawless Wallace again real quick, since this is a very Iowa-centric story. Unfortunately, when I usually talk about Iowa in wrestling, it has to do with Seth Rollins, but someone I'm considerably less proud of being from Iowa, Corey Taylor, is on the wrestling dirt sheets this week for really giving Baron Corbin quite a stiff slap. Have you had a chance to check out any of the videos on that yet, Brandon?
Yeah, that was pretty cool, actually. I like that quite a bit. So I don't really like Baron Corbin.
There was, I guess also, I didn't realize.
Just a heads up, if you're not a Corey Taylor fan, don't ever mention that to Mark Sterling.
That's really good to know, because I want to try to talk to him a few more. So I will. That is really good to know. I will probably bring it up for sure about how much I hate. I don't actually hate Slipknot. I just kind of don't like that. That's one of the only things the world knows about Iowa. So. It looked, for a second, when I only saw like the 6-second GIF and they didn't have any of him going before or after it, it just almost looked like Corey Taylor was just like stupid enough to actually hit a wrestler. But then when you see how much they kind of worked it, it was obvious that they had the whole thing kind of planned out ahead of time. But and apparently they were
definitely a plant. I mean, he is not. I don't think any celebrity's that stupid this day and age. Yeah, I mean, it was obviously a plant type of deal. Like Baron Corbin, I think, like shoved him pretty hard or whatnot beforehand.
Yeah. Well, they too, and I guess the thing I kept reading, and maybe it was just like the sources I was reading, but they kept saying that Baron Corbin is known as the most metal guy in wrestling. Have you ever heard Baron Corbin referred to as being metal? I've never heard that in my life, I don't think.
I mean, I don't know. I guess like this kind of his persona and whatnot, and from watching Breaking Ground, he seems like that's probably what he would listen to. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see if they get any more like that. I heard about it on TMZ, so obviously some of the mainstream media will at least mention Baron Corbin's name, and then maybe one day when he's headlining WrestleMania, it'll be one of those things people are like, oh yeah, remember that time he got slapped by Slipknot? That was funny. So good for him, or whatever. Before we, and I'm going to come back to you in just a second and get some updates on how things are coming along for Flawless Wallace and some of that stuff. But real quick to our friend from across the seas, anything else you would like to bring up or get off your chest or anything before we begin to wrap stuff up?
Oh, that I just think it's going to be interesting to see where AJ Styles go after his contract, because even with his injury, if he doesn't go to WWE, I think it will be a mistake, because at the end of the day, you're going to make more money and you're going to have more of an impact in the future, and plus the merchandise sales and toy sales you're going to get, why not just take the jump whilst you can at your end of your career?
Yeah, definitely. One thing I actually wanted to ask you, I like to, especially when there's someone who is not American, I like to know how you guys, because TNA and like companies like ROH, they place a lot of emphasis on their European audience and everything. So over here, we see TNA falling apart, and not a whole lot of people care, and it's kind of seen as almost a joke. But how is it perceived? How do you feel about TNA? I guess you personally.
TNA, I think, an interesting situation. I'm not too happy with some of the business choices they made, because they're going backwards, not going forward for their future. But just they're doing quite well. They're on free TV, so it's quite easy for anyone to watch it. So it's quite popular. Ring of Honor is pretty much non-existent on television, so it's difficult to really find a source freely to find Ring of Honor on TVs. But when I can find the time, I will watch it because it's another good promotion. It's a shame that this is going to be interesting to see what TNA can do in the future, because they're going down a very downward spiral, and I don't want to see it happening to them.
Yeah, for sure. It is really interesting. Again, I don't follow it too much, but there's obviously a lot of talent over there, and it's sort of like the second biggest promotion, at least in the U.S. After WWE, obviously. But yeah, and I guess I never actually caught your name. What was your name?
Ben. You can just call me Ben.
Ben. Well, thanks for joining us, Ben. Do you have Twitter or anything like that you want to shout out?
No, it's all good. I hope you all have a good week and take care.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for joining us, and definitely feel free to join us whenever you can.
Okay, thanks very much. Have a good day.
Yep, thanks. All right, and Kazz, what can we expect from the post-match podcast this week?
Well, you could expect V-Dogg and I to be disagreeing on everything, because I'm always right, he's always wrong, and that's just the way it goes.
In his world, in his delusional self, that's how it goes.
Well, you say delusional, I say right on, but nonetheless, we just we'll be reviewing Hell in the Cell. We'll probably talk about Breaking Ground, of course. Talk about Raw. We might talk
NXT.
about some NXT, some football. V-Dogg's propensity for advocating Donald Trump, and whatever else.
Hey,
we'll see what
really?
comes up.
I don't think so, but I haven't really read much about him lately, so I don't know. I don't know how the hell that happened.
All right, and V-Dogg, how can they check out the post-match podcast if they are not familiar with it yet?
Okay, so we are now on Stitcher. We're working, but you have to, for right now, do post-matches podcast. So we're going to work on that, the title change, but it's post-match with apostrophe S podcast on the Stitcher app. If you have it, you can if you download the Stitcher app, and you can check us out there. It's the easiest way to listen to podcasts, really. It takes all the RSS feeds. And then it is mixcloud.com/post-match. Right, Kazz? Yeah, that's the one here.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then it's podomatic.com/post/ post-match podcast. So that's podomatic.com/post-match podcast.
Right on.
And
Sounds
follow
good.
and follow us on Twitter at postmatch1.
Yes.
Very good. And I just saw, I believe, either early this morning or late last night, kind of all the same to me, really, but that you just, I don't know if you were already on Periscope, but I noticed you on Periscope for the first time. So do you guys usually run your Periscope while you're doing your podcast, or is this just something you're playing around with?
No, it's just something that I created on the fly. Nothing really has been done yet.
I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I'm going to bring Flawless. I'm calling it Flawless Wallace because we were talking about it one time, and he said it, and I thought it sounded. I like that extra little B in the middle of Flawless Wallace. Kazz and V-Dogg, you are more than welcome to chime in with any questions or comments. Or I know it's bright and early in the morning. If you guys have to go, won't be offended. But Flawless Wallace, give us an update on the young career of you. Sorry, that didn't work well enough. Go ahead.
I mean, things have been going pretty well. Last weekend, I wrestled in Lincoln, Nebraska for Magnum Pro Wrestling, and it was a really fun show because it was a bar show, and it was 21 and up, so it was like an adult-themed wrestling show, which was a nice change of pace because, you know, like indie wrestling around here a lot of times is really family-friendly and stuff. Things don't get necessarily too crazy all the time, and so it was definitely a fun show. The crowd was really awesome. I think there was a tiny nipples chant at one point towards somebody because they had smaller areolas, I guess. Somebody hit a superplex and clipped the ceiling fan. That got a huge pop and a ceiling fan chant, and any time the rest of the night anyone got close to that ceiling fan, there was a giant ceiling fan chant. So yeah, it was pretty fun. And then I haven't had too much going on lately, but a couple weeks here, November 6th to the 8th. It's a pretty big weekend. We have a 3X show on Friday night, November 6th, at the Come and Go Theater. I don't know that I'll be booked, but I'll be there. And, you know, if something comes up, hopefully I'll get an opportunity to have a dark match or something. But the 7th and 8th is the Midwest Comic Con here in Des Moines. I think it's at Hy-Vee Hall. And it'll be kind of similar to the Latino Heritage Festival where we're just going to be there all day, like doing matches. So I'll definitely be working both days there. So that should be interesting. I think a Comic Con with some pro wrestling is a pretty cool combination. So
yeah, definitely. And I do want to clarify for our guests on the West Coast who I don't believe you guys have Come and Go out there. I wanted you to know that is a gas station here in the Midwest, and they happen to sponsor the theater where a lot of the 3XW shows are. So spelled K-U-M, so I think that makes it appropriate, I guess. I don't know why they think that's a great name. And it's a pretty major chain here in the Midwest, so we have a lot of Come and Goes all over the place.
Yes, the Come and Go Theater is a totally legit place and not a adult entertainment theater.
For sure.
Nice.
Okay.
And Brandon, let's see. I remember you telling me about the finisher you were working on. Have you had a chance in any of your matches to hit your finisher yet, or are you comfortable enough yet with it to even use it in a match?
Well, I haven't won yet, so I have not been able to hit my finisher in a match. But yeah, I mean, I'm comfortable with it. I think, I mean, as long as it's not, you know, somebody like 350 plus, I think I could. I think I could hit it on a 300 pounder. That's probably about my limit at this point.
What and describe the finisher so that Yeah, because I remember I liked it when you were telling me about it before. So in case anyone hasn't heard it.
Sure. Well, I mean, I found that I was pretty decent at like running, Davey Boy Smith power slam, and then I also like sidewalk slam. So I decided to kind of combine them. I basically pick them up over my shoulder like I'm gonna go for the running power slam, but I sit out to my butt and finish like a sidewalk slam, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And have you come up with a name for it yet?
I kind of toyed around with Flawless Devastation.
Very good. It's going to work in the name Flawless. I like it.
Yeah, yeah.
Right on. All right. Anything else you said?
Flawless
go ahead.
Victory would be awesome too, because I'm a big Mortal Kombat fan.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that would be a good kind of wink to your older audience, because I'm pretty sure like my nephews would have no idea what Flawless Victory means as far as Mortal Kombat goes. So I'm a big fan of anything that goes over my nephews' heads that I get. I like that. So yeah, awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't think out through where I was going to go after I got to this point. Anything else? Anything else you want to throw out there? You said the show on this coming Friday, or on the 6th at Come and Go Theater. What all is going on at that show? What's going to be some of the headliners there?
Well, there hasn't been too much in it. Like, mainly just the main event, which I think they're kind of going with like a Survivor Series theme. The main event's like an 8-man tag. And it's kind of it's going to be more like the Merrick Brave. He is the Pure Wrestling champ, and he is from the Black and Brave. Him and Rollins have a school up in Davenport, so it's kind of like him and his boys versus like the 3X guys, kind of the angle there. And then also I think the Beer City Bruiser from Ring of Honor, he's going to be wrestling my trainer Mad Dog again. They had a match last time, so that I think it's this time it's no DQ. Nice.
V-Dogg, were you going to say something about Beer City Bruiser?
I'd heard about this, but Kazz knows more about that actually than I did, more about him. So that name sounds funny to me, and I think Kazz had a couple things that he could probably say about, or he has a couple things he could say about Beer City Bruiser.
Yeah, well, I just think that when I saw him debut with Silas Young, I just thought, is this 1980s WWE? I mean, a big, barrel-chested guy carrying a beer keg with him in the ring. I just thought it was, I don't know. I think it's a dumb gimmick, personally.
I have not witnessed it at all. Did you say that he competed at the last 3XW show, Brandon?
Yeah.
Right
yeah,
on.
I mean, honestly, I don't really watch a lot of ROH, and I hadn't seen it before, but he was a real nice guy, and they had a pretty good match. That's really all I can say for him.
Yeah, right on. All right, well, I'm gonna wrap things up. Anything else? Anybody else wants to yell before I start playing the closing?
Come on, Nikki.
Music?
Hey,
Nikki,
by the way, how much better does Nick? I just want to say this real quick. How much better does Nikki Bella do when Bree's not out there yelling that? My goodness, where did that wrestling come from? I mean, I was like, wow, she's doing great. And I mean, all these years, now take time off, really? Oh, fine.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, she did that match. Yeah, I was kind of not paying much attention to that match until I saw the Alabama Slam out of the corner of my eye, and then that sick top rope reversal that Charlotte had. I was one of several matches that, like as you said, exceeded my expectations.
Yeah. That was, yeah.
Right on. All right. Well, thanks again for joining us, Kazz and V-Dogg. Everyone, check out the post-match podcast and Flawless Wallace. Thank you for joining us once again, and I'm sure we will do this all again soon.
Cool.
All right.
Thanks, man.
Awesome, man.
Right.
Thanks.
Sounds good.
Yep. See ya.
Marking Out in the Morning is proud to be recorded in Des Moines, Iowa at Audacity Solutions Studios. You can check us out at HEELZiggler.com. Follow us on Twitter at HEELZiggler_com. The song you hear at the beginning of the show was recorded in Des Moines, Iowa by my friend Campbell D'Souza with recording studios of Phil Young. You likely also heard the song Parsec by the artist Arma Puros, which I downloaded for free at noisetrade.com. The album Timelines, and got permission from Arma Puros on Twitter for that. I also downloaded the song you're hearing right now at noisetrade.com. It is by a band called Ampersand. The song is called Aurora Borealis. It's on their album Trial and Triumph. Available for free at noisetrade.com. I haven't got their permission for this yet, but I hope to do so in the future. I tweet them about it, so we'll see what happens. You may also hear a more aggressive song that would be Ready, Set, Fire by a website called incompetech.com, where you can download stuff like that to use for your own goods, royalty free. Marking Out in the Morning is here every morning, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can subscribe to our podcast at iTunes or Stitcher. Just search for Audacity Solutions Podcast. And of course, you can listen live every day or listen to the entire archive at blogtalkradio.com/Audacity Solutions.